Recording in progress.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Town of Ulysses Planning Board meeting for October 1st, 2024. First order is a roll call of board members.
Jeff McDonough. Simon Bernard.
Art Greg.
Linda Little.
Carl Pankowski, Chair.
Mo Klein.
For tonight's agenda, we have the following items: approval of the September 17th meeting minutes, privilege of the floor. For old business items, we have the following items: Bennett two-lot land division, final plat, public hearing. Zoning code amendments, phase one discussions on 212-22 and 212-124. USGS streams versus GIS streams. And then board member training and board member reports. Any amendments or changes to the agenda?
Make a motion to pass, to accept the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Has everyone reviewed the draft minutes for the September 17th meeting? Any corrections?
Good.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right. Privilege of the floor is the portion of our board meeting where members of the public may make general comments on items that are not related to items on tonight's agenda. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes in length. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on items not on tonight's agenda? Well, I don't see anybody on. No, Mr. Gutman is part of it.
Yeah,
The other stuff?
that's what Bennett, yep.
Yes. Do I have a motion to close privilege of the floor?
Yep.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Old business items. The first item is the Bennett two-lot land division, final plat and public hearing. The applicant Charles Gutman, on behalf of the property owners Marcy Bennett Gray and Thomas Bennett Jr., applied for a minor subdivision for the subject site to subdivide the existing 1.56 acre lot into 2 lots. Board previously conducted sketch plat review on December 5th, January 16th, and May 21st, and September 17th, and issued a negative declaration on seeker at the May 21st meeting. We've got one guest. I understand you're here on this Bennett two-lot.
Me?
Yes.
I'm just curious. This is, I'm the person who purchased the house that's being subdivided out, and I just want to know how it goes. It's been-
Okay.
It's been a while. Just
So-
good to observe.
So you're mostly in the town of, or the village of,
Ooh, I must be 90 or maybe 70% in Trumansburg and 30% in Ulysses.
okay.
Something like that.
Mr. Gutman, do you have anything additional?
I don't think I have anything I haven't said to the board. Want to let the board know that the appropriate signs are posted.
All right, thank you. Niels, did you get any input from anybody?
No comments.
All right. Do I have a motion to open? Already
Close.
did that.
So now we can close it.
Yeah,
Close the public
motion to
hearing.
close the public hearing.
Yep,
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, I sort of jumped past that. Next time you like to stop me. All right. No. Where's that draft resolution?
It's right here.
Oh,
There you go.
okay. Before us is a draft resolution number 2024-19 for decision on the final plat. All of you had a chance to review it.
Mhm.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion to approve?
Why don't you just read?
Read
the
that, let me
condition-
read the
yeah, Conditions of
Conditions
approval.
approval, yeah.
Yeah.
All
right.
Or we're starting with it now.
Right, now therefore, the planning board resolves the following. The planning board hereby grants final subdivision approval for the proposed minor subdivision as described above. And is shown on the map noted above, subject to the following conditions. All area variances for the proposed subdivision must be granted by the Board of Zoning Appeals within 180 days of the date of this resolution. A deed restriction prohibiting any additional structures shall be recorded against parcel A. That's the garage part of your lot. A certified copy shall be submitted at the same time as a submission of the final plat mat for signatures noted below. The applicant shall submit 2 stamped copies of the final plat map for approval signatures after all area variances have been granted. All lot corners shall be marked on the ground with a pin, pipe, or monument by a licensed land surveyor.
I make a motion to accept the resolution 2024-019.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
right,
You think that,
That takes care of that.
I think that's, yes. So the next order of business then is something I asked,
Okay.
but
Just
very
as a
much.
Yeah.
quick update,
Yeah.
the BZA's plan to meet on October 23rd to discuss this, so hopefully we'll be wrapped up before the end of the month on this one.
that would be quick, yes.
since the record, since May.
Or last
Last-
December when it
Yeah.
started.
Or was it December? Oh, yeah,
Almost a year.
yeah.
Could I just ask for a point of clarification?
Sure.
When you say that no buildings can be erected on A,
Well, the idea is Mr. Gutman can probably explain better than me.
I think the basic, what I heard from the board before, which
You don't
I
have,
will put in a deed restriction, is that the garage is there. The garage can remain. You can't build any, couldn't put it like another house on that property, because you couldn't fit anything anyway.
in the Ulysses part of the property,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
there's no room.
Is that sufficient?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Nels, what date is the BZA?
It is the 23rd, and I think I sent an email to Pat, but I'll resend that to you as well.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
But one more question on there, but we could build a raised bed or something on that part, right? That wouldn't violate this,
oh,
like a garden,
yeah,
Yeah, as long as it's not a roofed structure,
okay,
then you'd have to go back to the BZA for another variance.
yeah, that's all. Thank you.
I think that takes care of everything you need on that. All right,
Thank you very much.
yeah. Yes. Yeah, last meeting when the discussion came up about the Salo Reserve. And Niels happened to mention that there was potential stream setbacks and flood areas and that sort of stuff. So I started really looking into this property. And it became apparent very rapidly that this is a prime candidate for the issue I've been leading into about streams and intermittent streams and that sort of stuff. Because the Salo property itself, if you follow our zoning, which defines streams as being the USGS, full-time streams or intermittent streams, there is nothing other than Paganic Creek.
Yeah.
If you bring in one of these GIS streams, it goes right up through the middle of the property up there. I walked it this morning to get a better feel for just really the impact on it there. And
You want to decide?
where 38 Salo comes in, that sharp corner in there. At that point in there, the property is only about just under 200 feet wide.
Mhm.
So part of that in there completely covers that zone.
Mhm.
The upper part of that is about 700 foot wide. So the fact that you're taking a 200 foot cut out of that, there's still park around it. But a lot of their trail things up in there, they have little like raised mini bridges to get you across the wet areas and that sort of stuff. I think, isn't that, Neil's, what they're planning to work on? Like the boardwalk portion of this and that.
Yeah, I think that was mentioned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that and some benches, park benches, picnic tables,
Well,
things like that.
there's 3 picnic tables in there already that look fairly new. But anyway, when you come into the entrance down there at 23 Salo, it shows 1 picnic table. But then when you get up to the far end up there toward where that trailer village is above up there, that belongs to the town of Trumansburg, or the village of Trumansburg. Anyway, up in that end, there's another 2 picnic tables up there that I think have been added more recently. But so this really brings out the potential impact, and it's scattered throughout the town. The other thing I sent you was the Bolter Creek area, just as an example, out on the far western part of the town out there.
That's what you said.
Yeah, it starts around Podunk, is about where it branches off of Taganic Creek. And in the USGS stuff, there's only 2 intermittent streams, one that goes up through the golf course and one out near 227, just before it goes out of the town out of our county. But if you bring in the stuff that shows up in the Tompkins mapper, all of a sudden you have 8 additional intermittent streams in there. And like the north side of Curry Road takes a real hit. There's about 8 properties in a row that all of a sudden have a stream going directly across.
Oh, that one, yes, I saw that one, yep.
Yeah. And so there's an awful lot of properties that are all of a sudden gonna have to be dealing with stream setbacks and this kind of stuff. So what I'm proposing to do, since there is a public hearing next Tuesday on the Salo property, on the change to the zoning, I would like to take that opportunity to read in about a short little 2-pager that really gets into this issue. I brought hard copies along, but I was roughly after 11 last night when I was still finishing this up. But there should be multiples enough to get everybody.
Yeah. That's quite weird.
Okay. Because I've tried to get feedback from the town board. I talked to Mr. Boggs in early February and haven't really gotten any serious feedback on how the town really wants to deal with this issue. But it does come up in stuff coming to us, like that 1474 Taganic property split that we did earlier this year.
Yeah, there was that stream, yeah.
There was a stream on the north side of that property, which was a GIS stream only. There was a USGS stream on the south side of that property. One earlier in the year that surprisingly did not show any of the GIS streams was the 1400 Taganic, where that little defunct gas station is that they want to put in
Yeah,
a little restaurant.
that donut shop. yeah.
Right, there's actually
There's a
GI
runoff one, I think, on the left side of it, isn't it?
well, there's one on the left side, there's also one on the north side
Oh, there is.
that comes right up through there.
Hmm.
Both of them affect that same property, but in the stuff we looked at, neither one showed up in there. The very earliest paperwork I saw that the owner submitted, that they had one of these services prepare for them,
Hmm.
showed those 2 streams on there. And then after that, they just disappeared.
Just the one at Garrett Road.
Yeah, Garrett Road and Highway 89.
Yeah.
Right in that corner. So if you go to Tompkins Mapper and bring it up, you'll see those two streams come right up around 1404 are one common property.
Right.
But there's one, it actually comes under the south side of Garrett Road, but crosses through Garrett.
Yeah.
And comes up the south side of that property, and the other one comes up the north side.
Right.
Which is where that septic system is that they're going to expand to cover the restaurant and the
The home.
house.
Yeah.
But that deals with Tompkins County directly, environmental health, and we don't get anything to say in that. So I figured this was a prime opportunity to use a public piece of property that involves no private individual by using the Salem property as a candidate to bring this up, and then ask the board directly how they really want us to address this stuff. I've gone back through the planning board stuff as far back as 2018. And there are a few instances in there where the planning board has added non-USGS streams to property decisions.
Mhm.
Interestingly, there was one in 2018 for a tram on the lakefront. When streams are still defined as those that run 6 months or more of the year.
Hmm.
The 2019 change hadn't even come around yet. And it was added in, and they required a 25-foot setback from that stream. That as I read our zoning, I don't see that we have any authority to bring these things in, and particularly not to require setbacks from. So that's really what I'm looking for, is if I'm totally out in left field, for you guys to straighten me out, or if somebody knows of some decision someplace that would drive this the other way. To, because it's gonna keep coming up in our planning documents and that sort of stuff, and how do we handle them?
Well, okay, I'm just looking at the map on the donut place.
Yeah,
Yeah, there is a stream on the north side, and then there's one on the south side, but that's pretty far away from where they are. The
yeah,
one on the north side, looks like it goes past the barn that's up
Right.
there.
yeah,
Oh, and that barn's probably been there longer than we
oh,
have.
yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, for them, there was really we wouldn't have brought that up at all. At that
Right.
time, because there was no stream really going through where they are. or
Where
what they're
where
doing.
the donut shop is going to go,
Right,
that south end down
right.
there.
I mean, there was one on the north, but that was
Yeah,
pretty far away, and the one on the south is really far.
I think it comes in far enough back that their parking area on that side would not have been affected.
No, the stream is pretty, on Garrett Road, it's pretty far south of where
Yeah.
the parking lot would have been, so it wouldn't have really affected us.
Yeah,
We wouldn't even looked at that at that time. I mean, if it was up, by the crossroads, then yes, it would have been by the donut shop, we would have had to address it.
Right.
yeah.
On that one, no.
And I think and I'm trying to I don't remember the tram one precisely. But what we were doing generally is encouraging, even if it's intermittent, if it's clearly an intermittent stream,
Hmm,
we encourage people to do
Yeah, and
25 feet
Right.
beyond.
Yeah,
You know, it doesn't mean that if he says, no, I'm not, I'm gonna
Yeah.
put it right there, that we would. be
well,
able
but
to
in the
force it.
public record of that decision, the planning board specified they had to have a 25-foot setback from
In the conditions for
in-
approval.
it. Yeah,
On whose approval? I'm
The-
sorry,
this was a 2018 decision for a tram. I don't remember the exact address on. I can dig it up for you guys.
I think I know which one you're talking about, and if I can remember correctly, the stream. The way the tram was being put in, they weren't digging holes, they were pounding in.
Right, it
pipe.
was the same company that put my tram in, that put
Right.
the one in last summer for
Right, and,
5
and we asked them,
Maplewood.
right, we asked them not to cut any of the vegetation,
Right.
I think they were taking one tree down. And there was a stream on the side, of
Right.
that. And yes, we did require the 25-foot, because of, we thought at the time that they were digging holes, but then they told us, no, we're just pounding in.
Stakes, yeah.
Yeah, stakes,
Pipe,
and
yeah.
right, and then putting the tram in, so there was really they weren't gonna disturb any of the earth there at all. Except for putting in the pipes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't contentious or anything.
No, but.
Yeah.
like this other one that 1474 with that 2-lot split on there.
You mean
Now,
up by the falls?
yeah, up the street or 1474 Teganic
Yeah.
that came through Burris or something like that, I think was the 2-lot division.
Right.
They're planning to sell the north side of that property. Well, the new buyer coming in is going to, at some point, want to build on that property and discover then that in the town's records for that property, there is a stream on the north side of that property that is not recognized by our zoning. And that's the kind of landmines that are going to come up and bite people down the road, because if you once get something like that in a property record, it is almost impossible to get rid of it. And the BZA, if they get involved with it, are gonna look at that and say, yeah, you gotta have the setback from that stream. Even though at this point, I don't believe we have any authority to put that stream in there. Because it is not a USGS stream, which is not, per the definitions in our zoning, recognized as a stream in the town of Ulysses.
What's gonna happen with seeker? When seeker happens and somebody says, well, that stream is mapped by the county as requiring a 25-foot setback.
Yeah.
Cause then you've gotta deal with the impact either way.
I don't think the county is going to bring anything in, because in the case of the donut shop, there was nothing in what we submitted to them about a stream, and they never said word one about
I'm
it.
not thinking of the county, I'm thinking of the public, somebody from the public stepping in and bringing up the mapper and saying that, well, that's mapped, so you've got to consider the impacts to that stream if it's.
Not if you follow what our zoning follows, unless the zoning gets changed. The easy squelch for that is to say, this is what our zoning says. It says very clearly the 7.5 minute surveys. If you pull up the 7.5 minute surveys and there is no stream there, as I understand our zoning, there is no stream, no matter what the Tompkins mapper says.
So he can put his house in the middle of the stream.
Technically, yes. The same thing's gonna happen with this Salo
Where does
property.
the
Wouldn't be
stream
very wise,
feed-
but he
the stream
could.
feeds into a larger river or a larger water body, there's a larger impact.
The, on that,
Can't just say this.
on the Gorge Road property, is that the one
Yes.
you're talking about, where they split it, the family split it into 3 pieces?
No,
I don't know, which one?
1474 is this side of that. The Gorge Road property, they're up there.
Yeah, well, they had a
On top
stream,
of the hill.
they had a stream also, but it was
Yeah.
not in the way of anything.
It was actually in the piece they split off earlier,
Yeah,
in the one with the, like the. Oh, some sort of land trust or something like that it was in.
yeah, that was something.
Yeah.
Who was the property owner again?
Burris, I think.
I'll look that up. Oh, here it is.
Oh, I remember.
Let's see, sketch.
So are you advocating that we include both maps then?
Well, I
Change the
certainly
zoning
look
to
at,
include
I certainly
both
look at
maps?
both maps every time a property comes up.
Yeah.
But the thing I'm concerned about is if some property owner that we apply one of these GIS streams to and require them to do setbacks off of it, bothers to read our zoning code and goes to round up a lawyer, we have just set the town up for a lawsuit that we're going to lose very easily. Because it is very clear in the zoning that says strictly the USGS stuff.
So should we recommend that we use the mapper as well? Include that in the zoning?
Well, you can't just simply add that. You're going to affect about 300 or 400 properties in this town or more if you allow all these GIS streams to come in. And that is going to have to go through a public hearing and get approved by the voters.
Yes.
So we do not
That's
have
what
the
I mean.
authority, and the town board, I don't believe, without going through a full formal change.
Right.
And Mr. Boggs can straighten me out if I'm in left field there. Just that I think because of the potential impact of this throughout the town, this is not a lightweight thing that we gotta decide on. And I think at this point, as long as I'm the chair of the planning board, we are not going to use any GIS stream setbacks on any property decision until our zoning has been changed. We can bring it up that it's there and ask nicely for the owner to consider it. But there is no way that I'm gonna allow us to put a setback off of a GIS stream based on just because the Tompkins mapper brings it up.
There are larger potential issues there too, because if we start doing that, using the GIS, referring to that, it's not in the zone, that people are starting to question, what else have we done? It's not.
Right.
Yeah. So.
But also you can't just let somebody build up against the stream.
Okay, but.
On
No-
what
no
basis
disagreement,
can you
but-
deny them?
Secret.
When?
No disagreement, Mo, but how do we define stream? What defines this, what denotes?
I
a
know,
stream?
but
That's really the question.
if you're gonna start doing that, you're gonna have a lot of problems with water quality, all the people involved with that. They're going to tell you right off the bat, no, you can't do that.
We have no argument with that.
Right.
We're on board with that.
Yeah,
But we have to look at that. We have to get the code of the zoning.
modified.
Well, then
modified
the
so that
town
we
board
can-
has
so-
to decide if they want to change that particular
Right.
zoning.
But until
Because
they make
if a
that
house is
change,
built anywhere near a stream,
Yeah.
we're gonna hear it and we'll be sued for it by water quality of the lake. Because they are really strict when it comes to that.
Right.
I mean, just the nitrates, I mean, I just had my well tested, the nitrates level was, and the bacterial level, everything.
Your nitrates were?
Oh, yeah, yeah, because I'm in the farming area, there's a fields all, because all the fields up in that area have drainage pipes that go into the gullies, and that goes down to the lake.
Right.
And the lake doesn't like that. So, I mean,
It's good
then
to
we
know
have
what
to, then it has to be changed, and the town's gonna have to do something about it, we can't.
right,
So.
but until the town makes a change,
You
Uh,
still can't do that. You're going to get, the town will be sued if a house is built. And the quality, and if they find runoff coming off of a stream, even if it's, you know, that
So,
intermediate, it's,
okay, so we give them the example that we know that there's a stream there. And
Yeah.
somebody's saying, well, it's not on the GIS map, so I'm gonna
Right.
put my house there.
right,
So where are you gonna put the water that comes down to bombard your house?
yeah.
Well, we'll just let it run off somewhere.
Or they might just
Yeah.
decide to
Right.
take it somewhere else. Well,
Yeah,
we're just
run
gonna
it
dig a
somewhere
little
else.
path around somewhere
That's right.
else.
And put a drainage pipe, put some.
Yeah, well, you
yeah,
can't,
drainage.
you really can't do that.
Why? I mean, they can, right? And they-
Well, now they can,
Now
yeah,
they
and a lot of
can.
people have done that, right,
Yeah.
where streams have come through and they. That was that one down by the lake where he put in a drainage tile where a stream was coming down, plus he put his own garage, he had a drainage tile there that went into that same pipe.
Yeah.
So now any oils, any gas from his car,
Yeah.
that stream was always running.
Well, wait a
and-
second, don't you have to get permits for tiles? Nils? For
For-
tiling?
If it's a commercial agricultural, then there are exemptions under there.
But if
you're-
it's not.
If you're not a
house,
commercial, then yeah,
You have to get a permit.
yeah, because
for it.
most likely.
Yeah,
it's
well,
gonna
I
be-
doubt they ever got a permit for that,
I know.
because when I went to look at it, that was done a while ago. And that pipe went right to the lake.
But we can require permits if they decide to do that. You can say, put that as a condition.
Well, any
Implementation.
debris would go right into the lake. Anything off that cement
Yeah.
slab where the cars were parked,
Yeah.
go right straight to the lake.
I know.
You-
So the condition is dealt with through, they have to make it go somewhere. Their house is going to the lake too. You know, right? At the end of the day.
That's your point, yeah.
Yeah, so the water's gonna go somewhere. And they either just run it over the ground, you know, and hopefully have vegetation, or they tile, which is what
Hmm.
most many do. is
Or a
that, but they're
retention pond of
supposed to
some
get-
sort.
Yeah, but that would be ideal. If they build a retention pond.
Well, we
then it
did
doesn't go
require that
anywhere.
in a lot of
Yeah.
people on the lake who had drainage coming off. They had to put in a retention pond. We just did that just a little
Yes.
while ago.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And that, yeah, that at least holds any of the pollutants in the retention pond instead of going into the lake.
Right, yeah. Until we
But
get
there
all
are
that
so
under
many
here.
pipes that go
Yeah.
straight into the lake.
Well, we can't solve world hunger, but.
Right, exactly. But we
But,
also
yeah,
don't want
right.
the lake to die.
No, I don't. Yeah, so, okay, so in getting back to this, though, we should have a recommendation of what we want them to do, right? So given this, what we think you should do is look at including the mapper, if we really want to do something with it.
When does the county's mapping really kick in? I mean, what legal
Yeah.
authority is behind the county mapping of the intermittent streams?
I don't know.
I've been trying to find out where they came from because there was a big wetlands consortium in 2012 that put together the wetlands map that the town of Ulysses adopted in July of 2019. That's actually on the website. And included, buried in that map, along with all the local, state and federal wetlands, were all these GIS streams that came from LiDAR mapping. But there is a newer version, if you start reading through a lot of the details on the GIS site and the Tompkins mapper stuff, there was a lot more work done in 2015, and I think that's some of where it's coming from. But the other problem with the whole GIS system in relation to the town of Ulysses, it was introduced to the town board in 2 different sessions by the GIS group in 2018. I've looked through all the town board minutes from 2018 to the present twice, trying to see if the town board ever approved use of any of this GIS stuff. They've never even discussed it. So there is no formal approval to use any of this GIS stuff. But from Neil's standpoint, he couldn't function if we don't allow him to use the modern electronic tooling. Because we are used to seeing all of these, property boundaries and all the rest of this stuff. And this is a case particularly where technology has gotten a big leap over regulation. It's out there, so about all these drainage areas and that used to just look like drainage ditches, or that was another valley over there, but it wasn't called a stream because it wasn't recognized back in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, whenever the USGS stuff was put together.
Right.
So at some point, I think we're going to have to deal with it, but the problem with the Tompkins mapper stuff is there are some of these streams coming off the lakeshore that only go up as far as Highway 89. There are others that only get up as far as the Black Diamond Trail. Then there are others that come up through the town. Last fall, when that little park in Jacksonville,
Yeah,
and all the restrictions that the county came back with
Right.
and that sort of stuff on there. That was a GIS stream, not a USGS stream that they added into the data they put in.
Yeah.
And paid dearly for having done so. Because I think the reason the county did not bring up anything in relation to 14 in the 239 review for 1400 Teganic is because since zoning that drives what you consider to be streams is local home rule for every entity in the county. I've looked at most of the areas like Danby and Newfield that doesn't have any zoning, and the town of Ithaca. I haven't been able to find the stuff in the city of Ithaca, but others like that, everyone has their own zoning. So I think to avoid getting into home rule issues, I suspect the way the county does it is they go by what's submitted to them. And in the case of Jacksonville Park, that stream was included, so it was fair game for them to apply all the setbacks and everything else. In the case of 1400 Teganic, there was nothing submitted, and so they didn't say a word one about it.
Right.
And I suspect, without having gone down to talk to them, and one of these days I'm gonna go down and visit the planning board and try and get some real direct feedback as to how they deal with this stuff. Because I really need to know And I think all of us need to have a good feel for how this actually operates. But,
Oh,
Can I
Yeah.
just say that, the county GIS data is probably a lot more specific and detailed than USGS data. And that's only defined by someone at the county level. The person who's creating those maps is choosing what streams to include in that definition, in that break. So if you wanted to, you could get even more specific at the town level or using a different system. We could even check the New York State system. So they probably have their own specific definitions.
Yeah.
which brings up other issues though, because there will be, all these different definitions.
It could just be a matter of updating what we use as a reference.
Right. So, but here's a question that I have. If Tompkins, and I think you partially answered it with the Jacksonville example. Is there anything in the Tompkins County code that requires us to follow it?
in relation to streams.
Yep.
Not that I've discovered, but I haven't dug through, all their board meetings and records and stuff like that, but that's part of why I want to go to Tompkins County Planning and try and find out what are their guidelines, what are their specific rules dealing with this.
And how are they defining stream?
Yeah. Because I think it's important for us to understand that and it probably help us to decide what we want to include and not include.
I think the principle that I've always sensed that we're working under, if you go look at the property, which we always do, it's pretty clear where the streams are, the intermittent and whatever. And so you do your due diligence on that, and then you talk about it with the, the project, the person that's bringing the project to us. And then we deal with it that way, and if somebody, has a problem, we help them figure out how to deal with it.
Mm.
And the whole thing with a swale or something else to try to.
Yeah, that's how we've been
alleviate
doing it for a long
in the
time.
Right.
past.
Yeah.
I don't know that gets us into a legal thing, because we looked at the property and you see it. And that's probably better than looking at GIS or USGS, whoever we're looking at. For the day. And then, because what's really on the property counts, because I'm sure they don't have every farmer's ditch along
Right.
there as well, and that qualifies too. At some level, there's something going on with it.
So right
Yeah.
now, if there's an intermediate stream going through a piece of property, they can move that stream if they want.
If it's not a USGS.
Oh, please tell me, because I have property that has a stream going through it and I had a hard time trying to see about cutting it up. If that's the case, now I have a place I can cut it right in half and they can move the stream anywhere they want.
Well, looking at our zoning.
I mean, it's good for me.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear you say that. And if you're not gonna approve it, then I'm gonna sell the property now before it changes.
Yeah,
It
I,
actually has two streams going through it, but
Well,
they're
okay,
only,
so you come to us to
Yeah.
subdivide it, and we say, okay, you got this stream.
yeah, there's no water in it.
At
Right
the
now,
moment.
there's no water in it right now. It only runs, certain times of the year.
You're right, exactly, and we had that on Glenview.
Yeah, and they want to put a
Road.
house right there
Yeah,
and just
right.
move the stream,
Yeah.
dig it up.
And do it.
Yeah, but where's the water gonna go then? If
Yeah.
they don't reroute it back to its original course,
Right,
or are they just gonna let it go into somebody else's property?
and that's what I view our purvey, what we have responsibility for in the site plan review. Now, maybe if we bring up a stream that's not on what's designated as the official map,
Yeah,
we could be illegal, but it's still gonna be a problem for that house or that property development that's
Yeah.
gonna go on. So I believe we have a responsibility to talk about that and deal with it, and most people are really sensitive to it. We haven't yet ran into the hard case that, just decides.
We've never run
Better.
into a case
No,
that, since I've
not-
been here.
Refuse to work with us.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean, if somebody, there's a stream, we work with them, we find out how that, and they're usually pretty honest, it runs, during the spring, but it dries up in the summer. And
yeah,
it's very small, just little rocks, And if we go take a look at it, we can work with the people about it. But I mean, if it's if it's 10 feet wide and there's water running all year round, no, you can't build on top of it or
Yeah,
next to
well,
it.
That would certainly be a USGS stream.
Not necessarily. The one that runs through my property is pretty wide. And when it runs in the spring, it's running. But then it
Yeah.
dries up
yeah, that's true.
because it's coming off the hill and all the agricultural land that's up there, it's all open. A lot of water comes through there.
They all have tile headed right for it,
Yeah,
that.
right, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, there's the problem.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it is. So I guess, where I'm going, like, I think maybe it's worth a conversation with Nate to see what, potential litigation there is.
Now, he wants to stay out of this one.
Not appeals. I was trying to keep him out of. it.
Yeah, I know, he wants to stay out of this.
No, I
Or
would,
do you have any 2 cents?
I would definitely like to see this.
A few cents.
Okay,
Well, there's a lot to unpack in this discussion, for one. So yes, I would suggest getting someone on Nate's team or one of his associates that has expertise in water law, navigable waters laws and wetlands, because the two are distinct, but they are always correlated. And like Carl mentioned in the 2012 map that the town adopted for the wetlands map incorporates those streams as well. And if you take a look at it, it's all interconnected. You'll have a stream to wetland to stream to wetland.
Mhm.
And under federal law, those are all navigable, and it's more
Oh.
two-dimensional. It doesn't matter that there might be a 300-foot bluff. Army Corps of Engineers still considers
Yeah.
it navigable waters.
Oh.
Yeah.
In the what?
And
To
protect
protect
all
all
wetlands, yeah,
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 And then there's the other issue, like with, say, Mo's property, say it wasn't, a USDA or USGS map, which
Mm.
is very antiquated and not a good practice to do. And say you did something to that, there's a whole other section of water law, federal and state, that if you divert the water,
I know that.
I'm just,
I'm
as an
I'm just making
example.
a point here.
yeah,
We're gonna be looking at your property.
yeah, really, seriously, Mo.
it's in culvert. So too bad.
So, but continue.
Continue with that, what's
Please,
the,
yes.
Oh,
that if you divert it?
it's not just a civil, or would be a civil litigation, but if the town is found negligent of, doing what it needs to do, then the town could be sued as well,
Mhm.
as
Right.
part of that, so. There's those issues, to your question on 239, when they come in board, there are certain actions that the planning board is exempt from having to go to county review. But not all, and so any act, even. An application that might go to the BZA, so no BZA action is exempt from 239 review. So if the county comments on a action like the Jacksonville Park that needed both boards review, their comments are tangentially combined. And even though we didn't say there are some sections of the town where we have a buffer setback of 25 feet, if the county has in their policies or whatever that the buffer should be 50 feet, their comment is going to be it needs to be 50 feet. So how you override that is you need a supermajority of the board. So it's not necessarily law, but it is law. You need to do the supermajority to override that. There's a whole slew of policies in your comp plan, though, that are for environmental protection and stewardship. So then if the board wants to disregard those, even though we have, this information for the county, which is more up to date than the 1950s USGS map, that poses a problem, especially with seeker. With those actions, if we know that there is a water body there and we have these policies to protect water you need to do something, and the way you get around that, even though it's not in your zoning code, is as through conditions. So you always have the ability to impose a condition on that decision. So you would just say the town or the planning board recognizes that this is not a mapped stream currently recognized by the town, however,
Okay,
we apply this buffer of whatever.
right.
That's gonna get through them.
Do you need a
but-
super majority?
Only if you're overriding the county.
The county, okay.
But yeah, having Nate as a discussion, this big picture discussion would be great, and that's great training as well.
Yeah, it
for-
is,
for-
it really is gonna count it.
Yeah.
It's- I think we should. Have
We
me,
should do what?
have me
Oh, yeah.
review.
I'm sorry, everyone that's being here belong
Yeah.
really loud.
Oh,
General.
that we should do a general, have Nate, the lawyer, review with us. Water law,
Yeah, it's a very good idea, because we really don't know what we do on a decision, if it's legal or not.
right?
We could make a mistake and we could get sued for God knows what, but we could get sued,
Yeah,
or the town could get sued.
right,
So, yeah, I think we should have Niels look.
schedule.
Do we want to see if we can set it up, or do we
Yeah.
put together specific points we want them to look at and let them kind of get together their thoughts on what we want to know, so they got time to prep instead of just scheduling a meeting and asking them off the cuff. I think,
Oh, no, definitely, yeah.
yeah, I think it'd be better to go ahead of time with specific points that we would like answers to, and how we deal with this, and give them time to look at it there and dig into the requirements.
Well, I think, yeah, because on the lakeside, there are a lot of I'm gonna call them drainage ditches. They're not streams because they're short. I could see if somebody puts a pipe in, covers it up, because it's just a drainage, like a French drain type of thing.
Mhm.
I could see that because it's not running off the hill, it's just running on whatever, 200 feet. But if it's beyond that, if it starts to go up past 89, up into the hills, then that could be something else. So we don't know. And I think a lawyer would be able to tell us the laws of what we can and cannot approve.
Mhm.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And the other piece to that, kind of tangential to it is to what happens if you redirect your water and it ends up on somebody else's property.
Well, oh, that's a whole nother,
Yeah, I
that's,
know.
I mean, that's, now you're starting to talk about a lot of problems, but.
Yeah.
No, I know.
And people have
Yeah,
done that.
I
I mean,
know,
I know in places in towns where people have built a house and there was a stream, but this is years and years ago. They ran a pipe that goes like from their backyard and around their house and then into a ditch. And the stream actually goes that way. And some of them run all year round.
Mhm.
Because they're coming off one of the hills.
yeah.
But that
So
was
I'd like to
done,
add that,
but that was done before.
Yeah.
There was any real regulations.
yeah, right. But I mean, there's no regulations here on that kind of thing.
Well, that stream would run all year round. It wasn't, just a drainage ditch.
I know, but you could do it so that it starts overflowing and flooding a neighbor's yard or something like that, so there's gotta
Yeah.
be constraints. Yeah,
So
But-
to your question, so roughly at the same time as the county was doing the wetland map. 2012, so the town has stormwater regs that are its own chapter. Normally, those are triggered at an acre, not always. But there's also an illicit discharge to MS4s, so
just for regular households.
anything, so.
Okay,
Yeah, there are regulations, and that'd be a good thing maybe for Nate to touch base on as well. So even though it's nothing that is in our zoning code, because they are separate chapters under town law. You can
Okay.
still rely on that as well.
yeah, that would.
You had to bring this up, didn't you?
Well, it keeps coming up in decisions coming before us, so I think we need to get it addressed.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding you.
Yeah. But, and this Salo property just happened to be such a prime candidate, and it's not, it doesn't involve a private property owner, which is a good way to get in to address this. Because if you're dealing with somebody's private property decision, then you're really setting it up, yeah. That's why I chose this to go this route, but Mr. Boggs, I'm gonna give you a copy of what I would like to read into the public record for that board or for the meeting, just so you have it ahead of time.
All the wires.
For the 8th, and when you do the public hearing on the Salo change there.
Okay.
I plan to be there and, you know, that really gets into this issue, but I'm really looking for guidance from the town board. How they want us, they would like to see us go on this. And I think a good first step here is to get feedback from the town's legal, you know, as how they interpret it, and I'll make time to go down and visit county planning down there and try and get a feel for how they approach this. I don't know if there's anybody in particular I should talk to down there. Otherwise, I'll just come in out of the blue and start asking funny questions and bring a few examples along of what I'm talking about.
I can give you 2 names.
Okay.
Yeah. What was that?
I forgot what that director's name. Yes.
Yeah.
Katie.
Yeah.
Probably start off with more like Abigail. I'll give you their emails too.
Okay, that's good. If you'd send that to me, then I will set up a meeting with them and ask some pointy questions about this, because it really gets into the GIS system is out there. All the data is there. It's the reasonable way to get in and look at any of this stuff. And it's not going to go away. Technology has changed. So at some point we need to get regulation to marry up better with technology.
So what can we do to get Nate's schedule?
Well, sounded like you wanted to develop, or Carl was talking about developing a list of questions and stuff for them. So if we can work on that, and then we'll figure out everyone's availability, and then
Yeah.
kind of try to
And
set
do a
that.
separate.
Yeah, and if you guys just
separate
email me what
Or
you
what we
would
want.
like answered, I will bundle it all together for us and
Yes.
and play scribe and get it back to Neil so he can feed it to Nate and give them a chance to start looking at it and prep ahead of time before we schedule a meeting with them, so we don't waste their time and
Is a Google document a viable medium for this or no?
We don't do Google here anymore.
Okay.
We don't have a substitute either.
Well, we're working on a SharePoint, so I've got that in the works. As soon as we can get all the sign offs on it, I should be able to. We can't do board discussions there, but we could, if we're talking just in non-project related work like this, we can
This
do.
would be okay.
Yeah, that should be okay.
but if nothing else, I'll do like I did here when I sent this out to you guys. I just emailed it to you specifically ahead of time, and then try to get far enough ahead of meeting schedule so you can get time to get a few minutes to look at it.
People thought.
Yeah, because we all have different.
Yeah, but we used to do Google, then we got away.
Don't
with
even bother.
365.
I use Microsoft here and that's it.
Right. Using
Believe me,
Gmail.
I have issues with that too.
All right. Well, we're getting on toward 8 o'clock. I think I brought this up enough to get at least started looking at it and
Good job.
All
so
right,
my, yes,
so what have we decided here? We decided to ask Nate for
guidance.
guidance from the law.
But we need to
meantime-
put some questions together before we go to Nate,
Right.
what we would like answered.
That's
Would it be possible to also get some guidance from an environmental scientist? Is there one available in the county, perhaps?
To what?
To
extent?
discuss the definitions of streams, drainage. and
Oh, it's just
streams, and then
definition.
the Possible impacts.
Does Cornell Extension have somebody?
Well, yeah, that's a good idea, but what I think we really need to hear from are the people who are actually putting them on the map.
The
The
GIS.
GIS.
GIS
Yeah,
people.
well,
Actually both, because there may be a difference.
it might be in the county's comprehensive plan.
Yeah, their definitions, right?
Yeah.
And the zoning law.
First, you need to talk to the lawyer, though, so you don't ask questions that set us up for problems later, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but in the meantime, until this is resolved, what are we doing?
Hopefully, nobody comes.
Well,
in.
what I would,
On the
what I would like to see when we bring up like the site analysis and that sort of stuff, personally, where we have both GIS and USGS stream, just an annotation on that that says, this is USGS, this is GIS, so that when we're looking at the map, we don't have to go back and dig through to understand where there might be issues of requiring setbacks. I don't know if you can add annotations like that when you pull them in and put them together. Or at least in the verbiage, a way of saying. This is GIS and this is, I do it on my own. I go pull it up both ways just to make sure I know what I'm looking at.
Can
But-
we annotate the seeker before it's sent to the county?
Right.
So what?
What did you say?
So there's a form that goes to the county that says, we're looking at this
Yeah, there is.
property
Yeah,
and. And, you know, do you have anything? And then we frequently get this, we have no,
That
we
usually
don't have a dog in this hunt. But if we point out,
So that's the other piece of it. Getting the maps is one thing, but there's also the physical. You know, when we go out to the site, look at it
right,
too. I mean, probably the drainage ditches are not there.
right,
So we need to note those. And it, based on what Niels was saying about the responsibility, if there, you know, if there is a pond, if there is a waterway or of some sort there, we have a responsibility to deal with that, even if
Sure.
it doesn't show up. on that.
Right.
Right?
right.
So that's a physical, you know, looking at it.
I don't think we see the 239 package, do we? Or is it just a seeker form that gets sent to them?
So the 239 is everything, is the complete application package. They get everything.
So the site analysis and everything else that's.
Well,
They
they-
get-
and they'll do their own site analysis. So like with the Jacksonville. They don't look just at what our maps say. They use their own GIS data.
Right, but wasn't Jacksonville a case where Jacksonville actually talked about?
Yeah, they
County.
included it up front. Yeah.
Right, which,
This was not something forced on them. The people in Jacksonville that put this together included it in the package. But there was no reference anywhere in there that said. This is not a recognized stream per town of Ulysses zoning. That's really what I'm looking for, is to get some clear indication there, like the case that 1474 property split for Burris. That we would somehow annotate the site analysis to say. This one on the north side is GIS only, the one on the south side is USGS. So that we would be aware of the subtle sneaky differences and really think about this as to. What comes into play.
And then another color code for.
Well. The other thing that's interesting is when you use the Tompkins mapper. And you use their stream saver version.
Up the GIS.
Yeah, that's the GIS stuff. When you see this come out. In the GIS, when you go in and click it on, it says 100-foot setback. I thought that was 100-foot width centered on the stream, just like our 25-foot
no, it's
setback.
banking, the high
Well,
part of the
no.
banking.
This on here is 200-foot wide.
Yeah,
It is 100-foot on both sides of the center line of that stream. I was measuring Salo to get it with my engineering rule last night. And that's when I discovered, oh, that's 100 foot from the stream to the edge of this. So this is a 200-foot wide swath coming up through there. So like in some of our parts like the ag and rural zones and stuff like that. Where if the stream is not more than 10 feet below the area around it. Then you go from the edge of the stream and you're only talking about a 25-foot setback according to 124 of the zoning. Well, this comes out with a flat out 100-foot setback. So if you see this laid across the property, it sucks up a lot more property than what our zoning does.
Well, that buffer is specific to the county's level.
And there's no selectivity to it in the GIS data. You can't choose 50-foot or 25-foot. It's either this 100-foot or nothing.
Right.
Yeah, because of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Sounds like we need a GIS.
No. All right, on that, or
I will make a motion.
to adjourn.
Oh, no, no,
Or you wanna
definitely.
get
No,
something
no, I
else?
want to talk about something else. No,
Oh,
to
okay.
adjourn, to adjourn.
Well,
You have something else?
next meeting, we need to do signs.
Yeah.
Right, yeah,
Leave
right.
that.
Yeah, well, there's not much movement on it because ChatGPT shut me down today for.
Oh,
Excess
overuse or something.
usage?
Yeah,
overused.
and I'm not willing to pay the $20 a month.
I told you what to do,
I did that,
and it didn't
and
work.
it still catches you. There's actually a body of
It's
work
doing
out
it,
there
right?
now
It's
talking
the
about
idea,
how
yes.
they're circumventing cookies and able to track you.
Oh, no, no, no. If you erase them, I do it all the time. I use it constantly and I erase everything.
Yeah, I have a VPN. I could just change the.
Oh, yeah.
Right, you change locations.
All right, sorry about that.
Uh,
I second.
Oh, okay.
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Right.